So what determines the trade target? Yeah, market condition. Two things determine the trade target: market condition and market structure. You're going to have a different target depending on the structure of the market. And this is one of the distinguishing characteristics of this methodology, is that it gives you a basis for being objective, a consistent basis for being objective. You know, when you enter a trade, you should know what invalidates the trade and what your target is. You don't enter a trade because you think the market's going up or you think it's going down. You may think that, but there has to be something more concrete than that for you to take a trade under this methodology. So it's it's quite defining, and that's good. What is different about our perspective of time and everyone else? It's our friend, absolutely. Time is your friend. It's not an enemy. And that's something else that's almost completely unique to this methodology. And it's because of the way trading is promoted from within the industry. Trading is promoted as this, game console concept where you're firing away on, clicking the mouse all the time. And God forbid you're going to trade more than 30 seconds. It's just, so we want to be able to use time. We can use time in a number of different ways, and we'll talk about some of that as we go through. But let me ask you guys, what are some of the ways that time comes into play in your trading? Yeah, Troy, time of day. Time of day is certainly important. If I enter a market, if I'm day trading, in particular, if I'm day trading, and I enter a market at in the day session at 9:40, my expectation time-wise for that trade is very different than if I enter it at 3:40, right? So time can also help you determine your target too, right? If I enter a trade at 9:40, my target isn't going to be reached by 10 o'clock. Yeah, and Kim, that's exactly right. You've got it's a patience thing, patience in waiting for your entry and patience in waiting for a trade to develop. And the develop thing is very important. You've hit a very key point here. You can use time to stay out of trouble. So when you get eager to sell a spike, you've got to sit back and say, okay, now what's going on here? Do I really want to sell this spike? And other than it being a spike, is there any information that confirms that I should be taking a trade here? And most of the time the answer to that is no. It takes time for markets to develop, and this process of development is really, really powerful, and the market honors it in all degrees of time. This rotational concept and this probing for value and testing, noise. So time is important not only in a higher level of understanding and what to expect from a trade, both in terms of the development and how long it's going to take for the trade to reach its fullest potential, but also the target of the trade. And that's true across all the time frames you trade. If I enter a trade in the S&P, it's a day trade, and I entered at 9:45, my time target is 4:15. Really, ideally. We want to really trade the two variables that we always use are market condition and market structure. So the fading thing, and this gets back to something I just talked about without having the slide up here, is that when you're fading a market, use time as your reality check. And you can actually go down in time frame. And Troy does this. I know he does it. I do it. And I know he's told you guys he does it. If you're trading a market, and some of these markets, you have a news event come out, and the greater degree phase of the market or trend of the market is, let's say it's up, and you get this news thing, and then you get a spike down. And if that spike is into a key reference area, and you're looking at a 30-minute chart, you can go down to a 5-minute chart or even a 3-minute chart, just so that you go down in some time frame and you have some and the reason you're doing that is because you're taking advantage of the robustness of the development process, and you want to find some semblance of two-sided trading, as opposed to, okay, it spiked down, now I'm going to click the mouse button and buy it. Well, let's at least go to a 3-minute chart and see if they're, if it's forming a minor selling tail on a 3-minute chart. Let a few minutes pass so you have a lean, so you have some evidence that it's just not going to continue straight down, at least to the degree that it's more risk than you're willing to assume. Because there will be a time, if you're constantly fading the spike, that will happen to you. You won't get any rotation, not only on a 30-minute chart or a 5-minute chart or a 3-minute chart. You might not have any, like in gold sometimes. I mean, there are times where you won't have any rotation for $30 on a 1-minute chart. And that's not too many people can afford that. And are you going to occasionally miss a really good entry that way? Absolutely. But so what? It doesn't really matter. Okay, now how do we, on what is our progress as a trader based? Troy says results, yes. It has to be based on something that's measurable. And the point of this is that, how you feel. Well, I feel really good about my trading right now. Okay, based on what? There has to be a what to it, and it has to be something that's measurable. And the reason for this is because you can't improve your trading if you don't know what your results are, and you can't measure them, and you don't have a basis for them. So it's imperative that this is one of the most important points of the 7 weeks and the hours and hours and hours we spent together, is that you measure what you're doing. If you can't measure it, to measure it, you have to be able to define it. So it's sort of a self-regulating concept. It's very, very important. And the measure is, of course, your trade records. And there are a number of ways to parse out your trades. And the more ways that you parse them out, the more value you're going to get from your trades. The trades that you take, especially as you are working with this and you're refining it, are incredibly valuable. Win or lose, the trades that you take are very valuable. So don't let them go. There's no substitute for your trades that over time reflect what you've done, why you've done it, and how you've done it. And by studying that, you can self-correct what you're doing and improve. It's difficult not to if you will do this.